It's very easy for entrepreneurs to find themselves trapped inside their businesses because they don't see the choices available to them and don't recognize that everything that happens within their business is a choice. The projects you work on, the things that you say yes to, the opportunities you can't turn down, the way that you sell, the way that you deliver, all the emails you send, everything you do inside your business is a choice. But often because of the number of years that you've been doing what you're doing, things just start to feel like you have to do them that way. That's just the way that we've been doing things. And as a result, you feel like you have less and less choice over time. And that choice leaves you feeling trapped. And this can get you to a point where you end up resenting your business, hating working inside it, and just not being able to enjoy the life that you've created for yourself with the business that you've built, which was always the point in the first place, right? The reason that we find it so difficult to make changes, the reason we find it so difficult to say no to things, to make choices for our own benefit, is so often because we don't give ourselves permission to love ourselves, to feel compassion for ourselves, to understand that we also need things. And it's okay for the business to change and adapt to suit you as the business owner, as the founder, as the person that created this thing. It's always so easy to sacrifice your own needs on the altar of growth, on the altar of scale, on the altar of achieving the next big thing. Because all these things that you do in your business now, they're nothing more than ideas that somehow became permanent. Everything you do in your business was at one point an idea that you dreamt up. You never used to do any of it before the business existed, and now you're just in this routine. All the conferences you go to, the way that you communicate, the free Facebook groups you have to communicate with your customers, all the emails that you send, all the over-delivery that you do. These things are nothing more than inventions. And if they can be invented, then they can be uninvented and undone as well. But in order to do this, you have to give yourself permission to care about yourself, to love yourself, to have compassion for yourself enough to be willing to make changes that may mean less revenue, less income. But the way that we talk about business, the culture of business, is such that if you do anything that sacrifices revenue, you're seen as a failure. What do you mean you're not trying to 10x? Are you not serious? And this peer pressure, this status, can lead us into very, very dark places. And I see this with many of the entrepreneurs that I come into contact with through my business. I've been through my own difficult stages within my businesses, just like everyone has. But I'm constantly amazed with the entrepreneurs that I work with, often the more advanced they are, the more money they make, the more they feel entirely trapped within their business, to the point where they will say, I just want to sell this thing to get it off my chest, get it out of my life. I don't even care what the price is. I just want this thing gone so I can go back to living my life. But what if you design your business and your life the way that you want it right now? You have permission to do that. Everything is a choice. Now, usually the most reliable way of discovering what these traps that you've laid for yourself are is simply by paying attention to the recurring emotions that you have. I remember many years ago, I had story learning. One of the recurring emotions that I felt all the time was stress around finances, because I didn't understand, I didn't understand where it was coming from or where it was going. And this was a feeling that I lived with for many years. And at first I felt, well, it's just me. I'm just, I'm unsophisticated, or I don't, this is what's supposed to happen with the business. It's supposed to be confusing. I don't know. This is the first time I've gone through it. But looking back now, what I realize is that I allowed myself to live with this feeling of being deeply uneasy, uncomfortable around finances, simply because I didn't realize I had a choice to go and fix it. And what changed everything for me was when I started to bring on other people onto my finance team with the specific remit of organizing our books and our finances and our reporting, so that I knew exactly where the money was coming from and where it was going. From that point on, I never once have had a lack of clarity about the finances in the business. And yet for many years, I lived with that as a feature of my life. And it turns out that stress and that anxiety around finances was a choice. I had an option. I just didn't see it. I didn't know it was available. But more to the point, I was prepared to allow myself to live with this feeling because, well, entrepreneurship is supposed to be hard. I'm trying to build this business here. Let me focus on doing things that are going to grow the business. My own feelings, my own emotions, my own life, my own well-being, well, that can wait. We're incredibly good at squashing down emotions. But if you live with these for too long, well, as you know, they can bubble up in other ways. Another entrepreneur I know is nothing short of incredibly busy. She's working all the time. And every time I speak to her, she has this, she expresses the overwhelming feeling and energy that comes from her is one of, I just can't enjoy this stuff because I'm just so damn busy. And when you drill down into the things that she's actually doing, what do you see? Well, it turns out that she gets invitations to go and speak at lots of different events. And so she's on the road half the time because she get these invitations. She's always done them. She's always said yes. She's worried about what will happen if she stops doing them. In the business, all of the questions, whether they come from customers or from staff, are running through her because she wants to make sure that there is quality there and that everyone gets the best possible answers. When they run marketing campaigns within the business, guess what? She's the one there who is doing the live lessons, who is responding to all the questions. And this happens because it's just the way it's always been done. She's always gone to give these conference talks. She's always been the one who's interacting with students because she's the personality, she's the expert. It's the right thing to do. But the net result of all of this is that life ends up becoming so stressful that she wants to sell the business because it's the only option that she can see for just getting it off her plate. If you do not choose to deal with the small frustrations, then you end up face to face with the big frustrations, the big options, the big choices, which are almost never the right ones. If instead she realized that all these things that she's doing in the business right now are a choice, and she has the ability to say no, to do things in a different way, then everything can change and she can have the life that she wants tomorrow. I lose count of the number of entrepreneurs I meet who have single digit or low double digit net profit margins of around 5, 10, 15%, despite often running 7-figure businesses. And they do all this work. They work just as hard as any of us works. And at the end of the year, they look at their books and they're like, damn, I only kept 10% of what I made last year. And it's a persistent feeling, a persistent experience. Every time you talk to them, it's like, yes, this happened again. The choice they don't realize they have is that margins can be a choice. You can look at your books, you can decide what margin you want to have in the business, and you can make that happen. You can reverse engineer and make admittedly difficult choices in your business in order to get to that margin. Your margin does not have to be something that you are left with at the end of the year. Your margin can be a choice, but if you don't give yourself permission to make that a choice, then you're never going to get there. And you're going to spend the next 3, 5, 10 years always being the recipient of the proceeds of your business rather than the person that determines what they're going to be. Everything is a choice. So whatever it is that you find permanently cropping up at the back of your mind, that nagging feeling that you can't get rid of, that frustration, that unhappiness, whatever it is for you, acknowledge it. Give yourself permission to take it seriously. Understand that you have choices. And when the day comes that you give yourself permission to make those choices and do something about those things, you have the power right now to make changes that can create a life that is unrecognizable from what you have right now. And if you're in need of more mindset pep talks like this one, then check out this video over here where I go through many of the biggest mindset lessons that I've learned over the last decade plus of running my own businesses.